Right.
1,
Hello.
2. Hello.
You're live. I'm just waiting for Wayne. Hopefully it's done it. Fingers crossed it's done it. I just need to go on
Okay.
make sure it's on there. Let me just
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Right, here. Things like that. Let's go on there. Yes, I can see you. Right, and there's
Okay.
see what I mean. It won't let me add him. Why can I not add him? Add guest. Right. It won't. It's doing it again. It won't let me add Wayne again. There's a little box underneath Wayne and Josh, and you can't drop the box to be able to scroll the screen up to get them.
Okay.
Where's it up to? I've never worked with Windows 11, but I'm not most Windows. Click these three dots here. Just bear with us, everybody. It'll say 100% there. Zoom out a little bit. Ah, good. Thank you, Batman. Right. My missus saved today. My missus! My missus saved today. Yay! Oh, fat.
Yay.
Oh. Right. And look, you're all on there.
Oh, cool.
Right. Wayne will both the walls.
How you doing, Wayne?
Evening, Phil.
Good evening, mate.
Mark,
Good evening.
Mark, you do sound
Hey,
like
Josh.
you're in a pillow.
Yeah, you sound really rough.
Yeah. I've lost my lamp. Hang on. I sound really muffled.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, I'm hate this at the moment. Yeah.
Josh, you look so impressed.
Hey.
In
Right.
fact, Josh, you look Oh, you were frozen then.
Right, let's put it there,
I will be.
and then we'll share this on. Right, I'm still muffled, so let me just see if I can.
Yes, you're still muffled.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Still a bit muffly, though.
Yeah, it's definitely muffly.
Wayne, Josh,
That's better.
that's better.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's doing it again. It's putting the microphone through this. Do you remember I did it before? That's what it is. You're a pain in the backside. Carry on talking amongst yourselves. You know, Phil. Phil, for everybody who's watching, thank you for joining us out there. Phil is one of the UK's, I'd say, foremost dogman.
Oddballs, really. One of the most, oddballs is a good term, I think, really. Yeah.
We all need to give him a good round of applause because I know he was worried about coming on here. And I said, we don't bite. We're not gonna go mental or anything. Like I said, it's only like charlatans and things like that. But
we just go with the flow, Phil.
Yeah. No, not a problem at all. It's nice meeting you guys. It's lovely. I mean, I met Wayne before because we'd done a fort together, didn't we?
Yeah, the Beacon Hill Fort a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that was good. That was. Yeah, enjoyed that. Did enjoy that.
Yeah.
Josh, I haven't met you before. Is it Josh, isn't
it? Yes, Josh. Nice to meet you.
How you doing? Nice to meet you as well. Whereabouts are you from?
I'm from Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
Creative Central in the US.
Yeah. I stayed there. I was. I lived in Valdosta in Georgia.
All right.
Yeah. And then travelled down. Went to Okefenokee Swamp. On the way down to Daytona, and that was interesting because it's like the missing planes. And they went on the Bermuda Triangle. There was a squadron that just went completely missing. Right, yeah. And locals around Okefenokee, it's called Okefenokee because in the old native language it means trembling earth. and this swampland was like where the planes were meant to have come down, and it's so vast they just got swallowed up completely. Interesting place though. Went on a boat. It's like kind of, and this guy behind with a rifle, and we were going along this little tiny canoe type thing, and kayak, I guess, yeah. And as we we're going along, and all these alligators were coming up all over the place. And the one thing alligators can't stand is dogs. There's something instinctual inside them where if they see a dog or sense a dog, they will go nuts, crazy ape. Yeah.
Right. Can you hear me better?
No. Go back to how you were.
Carry on talking. No. Oh.
What?
Can you hear me now?
No.
Oh, I give up. You can't hear me.
We
I can
can't hear you, but there are some weird sounds in the background.
The cat's eating her biscuits. That's probably what it is. She's fat. That's probably what it is. Right.
Out of a tin can, but we'll let you off.
Hey.
Right. Fingers crossed. Right. Thank you very much for sorting that out for me. You can hear me.
It seems to come out all right on the...
Yeah. On when you're listening to on the through the app, it's fine. Yeah, I'm coming out absolutely fine. So it's just, I think you're just playing tricks on me. Right. Welcome to the Dark Show. I don't know. It's of course it is your usual weekly helping of 30-somethings and 50-somethings, and now of course I think we've got 30, 40-something up in the corner there. I'm talking about the weird and the wonderful, conspiracies, ghosts, you name it, cryptids, UFOs, everything. But I thought today we'd actually have somebody on who I've wanted to have on for a little while. I've looked at some cryptid hunters and I thought, yeah, we'll have you on. And then I've watched their stuff and gone, no, I don't want you on. But Phil, I've watched his stuff and he knows his stuff. He knows his things about the Woodmans and everything. So welcome, Phil Copful. I think that's how you say your surname, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's a tongue twister. Yeah, well done on that one. Yeah, no, brilliant. Yeah, hi everyone.
So,
Nice to be on. Thank you for having me.
That's all right. And I hope your nerves are out. See, even us non-professionals have crap days. So
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It put my nerves, the catastrophe of the first lot going live, put my nerves completely at ease. Honestly, yeah, that was good.
Well, hopefully, oh my God, you know Wayne, and hopefully you'll get to know Josh. Like I say, he's our cryptid guy, and he's our man in America, but he's in Wisconsin, which is like cryptid central. So and he knows his stuff.
Northeastern.
Well, Phil is a dogman hunter or investigator, but it's not just dogman as well. What else do you do?
Oh, come across dogmen and me, dogmen, rakes. Now these are all things which I'm interested in. That there is a mythology and a history of, both written and spoken. Which while I'm out there investigating and looking and photographing, I'm aware of, and because I'm aware of it, I look for it. So rakes and also woodwoes. In England we call it woodwoes, but Bigfoot in the States, or Sasquatch. Yeah, I always say that word really weird. Sasquatch. That is, I can't say that word.
Sasquatch.
Okay,
Sasquatch.
I got it.
Woodwoes are also green men as well over here, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of churches and carvings on things like churches and other. Even there's some cathedrals, I believe, where there's stone carvings, and they're always holding a club. You know, which makes kind of sense to me, because when you think, a lot of people hear wood knocks, club.
They were the elf bouncers, that's why.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah. So that's what I do. I go out and try and find evidencing for them. The only means we have really is photographic or structures. I don't know if you have it over in Wisconsin. Structures. I suppose you do. I've seen a few on Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, there's structures. It's pretty big here. I mean, there's a lot of Bigfoot mythology around here in Michigan. Same with Dogman too. It's actually the state I'm in is known for Dogman. the Beast of Bray Road, Linda Godspeed.
He's the Beast of Bray Road. He sat there with his beard. Look at him.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm all
for sure.
trimmed up now. I don't got the Mr. Clean going like you yet, but I'm trimmed up.
Oh, I'm not clean. I'm stubbly.
Yeah, but you got the Mr. Clean going.
Oh, wait, you're not too big to go over my knee. Shut your face. Right. What you mentioned about rakes, which I find interesting because that's not something we've ever really touched on over here, is it? What's your thoughts on rakes and what are they? Because there's people watching who've got no idea.
Well, the rake is a cryptid which has been seen. It's spindly arms, oversized head, no hair, hairless. Usually they're white. They're kind of very almost gaunt white in appearance, very tall, and they have a reputation for being extremely violent. Very what's the word? Bad-tempered, almost. Kind of. You wouldn't want to get near one, really. I've only really photographed one that I believe was a rake with quite a strong, powerful lens from a distance, but and that was at Cheddar Gorge, which is a really large gorge.
Cheddar Gorge, very, very well.
Yeah, and there's some when you look up. Because you find a lot of people, they go through, especially weekends, they go through like showing off their cars and the motorbikes and everything else, and they go through the gorge. And we were there on a Sunday, and the cars were going through, but I decided to go up the gorge a little way. So as I went up, I saw something in there's a forest, which kind of woodland, which a woody area, which is on the slope of the gorge. And I put the camera on, put the big lens on, zoomed in, and I saw it was a blank area between trees. And then all of a sudden I saw this gaunt, pale, oversized headed, long spindly arms entity looking down the gorge from between the trees. It was a distance, but I believe that was a rake. I believe that was a rake. Very rare, thankfully. They have been spoken about before. They have been. I think the States. You have got them in the States as well. I think there's a crisscross, with the definition for these beings and the classification for them. There's kind of a bit of an overlap. So we've got, like with dogmen, we've got I understand it to be type 1. Type 1 is what over here a lot of times we would call a devil hound. It's a quadrupedal dog with usually red. Dog. Yeah, that's right. Black Shuck. Yeah, predominantly seen in Suffolk, Norfolk areas. Hangs around cemeteries. That's seen an awful lot throughout the years over here. Then we have a class 2. The class 2 is a more flat-faced. It's more of a flat-faced dogman type. Very big, very stocky. It's not as chiseled. It's as a type 3, as the dogman that we see often in AI images and other illustrations. This one is more like a gorilla, large gorilla type, with a flatter face. It's got a muzzle, but very short muzzle. And then we have the type 3, and the type 3 is the one which most people recognize. Beast of Bray Road would be a type 3. Long snout, teeth, big teeth, usually glowing amber to red eyes, and just custom made really for predatory. It's a custom made predator. So that's the classification. But then we have things like rake, which could be construed, if it was in South America, I believe very closely to chupacabra.
Right. Okay.
It's that type of being, So, I think there should be sort of like more of a defined classification for all these cryptids, really.
Do you think that these things are? Do you think they're supernatural, or do you think they're from before us, like precursors, or do you think they were something that was left here as a sort of guardian type thing, or other stuff?
Well, you see, the thing is that there's I believe they're all connected. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you take evidencing, you find a lot of hunters in the States, and they kind of shoot them, but the bullets bounce off or don't seem to hurt them.
Yeah.
There's another thing where I've witnessed it myself, and I've got it on video, where you see an entity, a dog man, morphing. It will go across and it will just morph into the background like a predator, just disappear, and you'll see the foliage coming through as it's doing it, but you can see the outline of the entity as it's happening. Now, because of these have strong correlations. These events with the guns, with the disappearing, with the photography. We have some really stunning, brilliant cameras now. Everyone has a pretty good camera in their pocket, and yet we still can't get a definitive picture that says, "Hey, look, that is definitely a dog man. That is definitely a Bigfoot." We can't get it. It's very, very. We get photographs, but a lot of times they are poo-pooed as AI, as we spoke about before. Mark. But why is that? Why is it the bullets bounce off? Why is it they morph out? Now that has a strong correlation to things like. I'm going to approach a couple of topics. UFOs. Okay, that's
aliens!
the first topic.
Hello. Welcome to the show.
Aliens. All right. Now, with aliens, what do we often find when we look at the ships? What tends to happen?
The tech. Shields.
We see them, then they kind of morph out and they reappear. They're kind of like they almost a lot of people have described it as being they pull gravity ahead of them and they pull themselves along, and by doing so they kind of appear and then disappear and then reappear again. We have the same thing as well, Wayne, with ghosts. Very often with the paranormal we find the same thing. We find apparitions where they will appear and then they will just disappear. They will just morph out. So when you take these things into consideration for all of the topics that we're looking at, there is a strong correlation between a lot of them. And I believe that they're out of time. I believe that I came up with a theory, and it's an everything engine theory. So basically, we have time streams, and these time streams, we're in one, okay? And there's another one, maybe a second ahead or a second behind us. And
do you mean out
with
of
the
phase?
everything? Yeah, well, yeah, kind of. But let's not be too big-headed that ours is the only phase, or ours is the phase that counts. It's not.
Well,
Theirs may be to them.
Well, it used to be time was past, present, future. It's now been proved by scientists that it's past, present, and future are on the same line, and it runs concurrently. And they're trying to get the thing to broach between the two. It's got something to do with that. Do you know this is the quietest I've ever known, Wayne and Josh. Really, guys, speak up, say something. Come on. See, I find this stuff fascinating.
If you think, if you think I'm absolutely raving, just say, look, Phil, I think you're wrong. You're raving. I've had it all. Just tell us.
You're on the right show.
Well, no, because there is a theory that the human vision and cameras cannot pick all of the electromagnetic spectrum, and that would be the reason why we don't see UFOs all the time. We don't see ghosts all of the time because they're using that electromagnetic spectrum to their advantage.
Yeah.
And that would be like you say with the pulling of gravity. It's allowing them to sort of be there, then not be there, but they are still there. We just can't see them.
Right. What about if they're actually with the these things are carbon deposits. Now, the only thing that can jump across timelines will be a carbon deposit of some sort. It has to be carbon-based life form or that would jump across. So when these ghosts jump across, as we call ghosts, to them, we look like ghosts. We're exactly the same. 1 minute we're there, 1 minute we're gone, because we're on a slightly different timeline. I understand. Look, with there's certain things where I understand with the spectrum. We do see a very limited spectrum, of light. Dogs can obviously see more. We're more to the blue shift, as I understand it, of light. But there's another thing which gets me, and that is when it comes down to things like ghosts. Very often people will say, I have myself, I can sense that I'm being watched. And you've had it, Wayne, as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've had the same. Okay. Now, there's such a thing as scopasepia. Now, that is something which everybody has. And what it is when you're in the army, they will teach you, and you're going to ambush an enemy's traveling in a jungle, and it's a few feet away from you, and they're going to pass you. You're trained not to look at them as they're passing. Don't look at them, because if you look at them, they will sense and know you're looking at them. You look at the ground and you hear, you don't watch them.
I can confirm he's correct in that.
So there's something in us that does know. So we have to have faith in that. We have to have faith that these things do exist. And we have to have faith because, and this goes for UFOs, ghosts, and cryptids, because not everyone is a nut job. Not everyone is. And there's been so many accounts and so many credible people that have come forward. We all know this. But these things, I believe, with cryptids alone, let's concentrate on that for a start. With cryptids alone, if they come across and they morph out, I believe they're morphing out because they are on a slightly different timeline, and they've jumped and they've gone through this timeline, and they might see us. They will interact with us. They look physical. They are physical to us for a set period of time. I mean, portals are proven to exist.
It's a very
right?
famous one, the House of Versailles. There was incidents there, and there was also what was the other one? Mary Antoinette. They saw Mary Antoinette, I think it was, and they were walking through, and they thought it was actors dressed up in a costume.
Yes, there was that. There was two women, wasn't there? There's
Right,
a very famous, and I think it got turned into a movie as well. This did, where the two ladies. Yeah, it was two ladies some time back. You're quite right, and they went on holiday, and they went to this lovely, beautiful estate, this beautiful house, large house. And
it was the House of Versailles.
Sorry,
It was the House of Versailles.
Yes, yeah, and that's where they saw Marie Antoinette. But then,
That's
wasn't it when they went back? Didn't they go back? And
They started walking down, and there was a footpath that came down and around. And as they started to walk down the footpath, they said that the air started to shimmer a bit, and the noise got a bit muffled, and then went back to normal. And as they came down and around, they saw in a courtyard on the right what they thought were all these people dressed up in period costume, and Mary Antoinette was there, but they thought it was an actress, and they were like, "Oh my god, look at this, look at this!" And then these people turned around and looked at them in their modern clothes, and I'm like, "Qu'est-ce que c'est?" And then they these guys were like looking angry, and they went, "Ooh," started to walk off. And as they started to walk off, the air shimmered again, and it went all muffled, and it went pop, and it was back to normal. And they looked back, and the courtyard wasn't there; the wall was all the way along instead, and there was nobody there.
So in that case, they're witnessing history, right? So you said yourself that they've postulated that time is both future and past is all one. We are living in the now. There is no future as such because we're living in the now. And what I've just said is the part, but there is no past because I'm constantly in this train that's going forward. So it's constant, and all I can see is through the window of the train as it's moving. I can't see what is past because I haven't got that viewpoint. Yeah. So they witnessed a past event, but it wasn't past event. It was to them, but to Marie Antoinette at that time, she was living it.
There is a theory that a lot of interactions with spirits are actually time slips, and you're actually contacting some living people in the past, and they're talking to living people in the future. There is that. But also, I wanted to go on about that shimmering thing because Josh knows about this. Sasquatches, they're known for being able to phase out and go have like that camouflage thing. Isn't that right, Josh? Do you think that's the same thing?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean there is also some extraterrestrial species that do the same. I do agree with him with the time slips to an extent. I always like to look at time. We know it as like all these different areas, but we should honestly think of it as multiple rivers running next to each other. And a lot of times when a river runs close to each other, there's splashes and waves, and these waves interact, and that's kind of how it happens.
What do you think of like the difference between dogmen, werewolves, whatever you want to call them, between like the US and the UK and Europe? Because in Europe the stories and folklore is different, and the sightings and everything's different. In America, there's like gangs of them sometimes of dogmen, not werewolves. But over here in the UK, it's normally generally one on its own.
What, me?
Which one of us? Him?
Whichever. Who will you go first, John?
No.
And then,
Go on, you go first.
I don't know. I honestly, the story of werewolves and dogmen has been around since the beginning of time. We talk about in ancient Greece, the first Olympics. They're talking about them coming and competing alongside of us. You got Norse, you have the Uthra, the gang of werewolves, the men that could change into wolves. They were like the most elite. I mean, they're everywhere. They affect every culture, so I think there's something to it in that aspect alone.
Well, it's like, and I don't know, Phil probably knows this one. We've spoken about these before, but one of the things I read was about the Anunnaki when they were toying with how to create us out of the local hominids. They made protector species to keep sort of like the police of us, but they made like werewolves and vampires and all these sorts of things to keep the watchers. And the only reason they're dying out is the landscape has changed so much from what it was. Do you think that it could be that, or do you think precursors?
But mate.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I think they are just. To be honest with you, I think we get a bit confused with classification once again. Werewolves are something different to dogmen. From as I understand it, now this is not because I've gone up and I've shook the hands of a werewolf. I did once. Look what happened. Oh my God, no! What? Yeah, I've got 3 teeth, Mister.
Come on, man, did that bugger?
Yeah, and I told you, yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? Awful.
I've got no foot either. I've got an R2D2 leg. If I take that off, he bit it off.
Yeah, there's a book there somewhere,
Yeah. You know what? In all honesty, we tell one of my grandchildren, because he's like always like, "How did Granddad lose his hand? How did Granddad lose his foot?" And it's like, Granddad had a fight with a dinosaur. It's trying to eat him, and he had a fight with a dinosaur. And my granddaughter's like, "Is that why Granddad lost his hair?" Yeah. Is that how Granddad got the earring? Yeah, he pissed my ear as well. Yeah. So that's how I lost it.
It's all down to the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were saying werewolves are different from dogmen.
Yeah, werewolves. If you get an adult, a fully grown male adult werewolf, it'll rip apart a dogman. I believe they're different. I've heard accounts from people who've had interactions with werewolves, and they seem to be much larger than a dogman, which is 8 or 9 foot in height. Adult male,
What?
werewolves. 8 or 9 foot in height. Adult male, 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 8 or 9 foot werewolf will be more in the region of 12 to 14 foot in height. They're much more muscular. Dogmen, I believe, are created. They are predatory. They are every facet of the beast that when you hear accounts, Bray Road, for instance, and you hear accounts of these things, and you hear multiple accounts from an awful lot of countries. I spoke to a chap in Croatia who was witness to one.
Turkey and the Middle East werewolves, they are big ones over there.
Yeah, and now, partly due to media, we're in a bit of a quandary. One, with AI, no one's going to believe a photo. Secondly, we have the thing of, well, they must have got a description off of Facebook. They've been listening to Mark's show. They got a description of Dogman over there, and they're utilizing that. But there's certain, when you ask these people, there's certain facets to these cryptids which are individual to them, which they get spot on, which I'm not going to mention, but they do get spot on. Dogman werewolves are totally different. They're absolutely different. Dogmen are solo creatures. Werewolves are not solo. Now, I think that I believe that a lot of times, the one thing which both with the States, and Josh will back me up here, I think, is that I can't quite understand, I can't get to grips with, is the emanation from them of fear. Absolute fear.
I think that's infrasound.
I'd have to agree with Mo. I don't know. The other thing too you never hear about by you guys is everybody who I've come across, call it Dogman or werewolf. I honestly think they're one and the same. I think the word Dogman was made up when the first newspaper came out about it, and it was a much more catchy title and believable than werewolf. See, they're like Dogman. I think that's all there really is to that. But can't really go out and ask one, give or say, to tell us. But what I was going to say, over here we have everybody I've come across and interviewed with them have had other things happen. The trees starting to dance around and almost try to grab them. The changing of the weather, and it was almost like a whole physical seasonal effect that would happen when they would witness one, not just terror.
Here's one for you. It may be a bit of an odd one. Do you think that the ones in America are possibly what you were just saying about the weather and everything like that? Now, I know you know a lot about the shamanistic side of Native Americans and their skinwalkers. That's normally purported when it's a skinwalker as well. So do you think that they're possibly Dogmen over there are related or descended from the skinwalkers?
Well, I mean, the word Skinwalker and Wendigo is a witch that can change into an animal. I mean, it's basically the same thing. It's just the native, word. Too much caught up on words, I feel like.
Well, that's possibly why over here we don't have some of the things. But I know with the Irish ones, and if you go back to the Irish legends, the Tuatha De Danann and stuff like that, they had that. They had the werebears, the same as they did in Norse mythology and everything like that. But if I care to remember, depending which animal was the were one, depended on which weather went with it. But I was talking to Phil earlier about infrasound, and my thing is the tiger's the only one that emits infrasound when it does its low growl, and it does it to scare the living bejesus out of its prey. So do you think that these things can emit infrasound? Or a pheromone that scares the living crap out of us?
No. Basically, no, don't think so. No. There is it's tigers, they do, but also crocodiles do as well, they use the same with infrasound, almost to stun the prey. They discombobulate the prey with infrasound. I don't actually believe that to be the case with this. I think it goes. It's a little bit more. The people and the accounts that I hear talk about this overwhelming fear, but the strange part is, why I don't think it's infrasound is because with infrasound you will automatically it's like putting your hand near a radiator. You are going to pull it away. You are going to move from that area because it is so it's very there's a lot of discomfort which goes with infrasound. Okay, a sick feeling, you get a headache. It's something which is not a nice feeling. Some people see things with infrasound. Other people, it affects people physiologically. It's to such a degree they would rather vacate the area. But what we're talking about is we're talking about a beast where, on accounts where it's seen people, it wants them to stay, and people stay. They have this overwhelming feeling that they ought to keep watching this beast. It wants them to watch the beast. This creature.
Think that these smaller, because dogmen, as you said yourself, you don't see it mentioned before the 80s, and the name Dogman came from a song in the 80s. Well, that's where it all started anyway. But do you think that these dogmen, the smaller ones, do you think that they could be like an offshoot of werewolves or younger werewolls? And do you think that the snub-nosed ones, do you think they're actually a type of werewolf or completely different animal?
I think sometimes. I think with the. I'm going to get a load of stick for this. I think the type 2s sometimes get misconstrued as being a Bigfoot over here because they are furry. They're very stocky.
Talk about me then.
Yeah. And they haven't got that long muzzle, and they are quite gorilla-like. Their faces are really quite wide. I saw one. It was in a woods near to where I am, funny enough, and I was going off with the dogs, just walking, having a little look round. I was about 45 minutes to an hour in, okay, and I saw this shack, and I thought first of all it was a homeless guy living in it because it had a pallet up against it, and I thought, oh, right. Okay. Anyway, I videoed it as I was passing and had a little look around. There was some structures as well. You often get like X's. Josh will know this. You get X's in the forest. You also get Y shapes as well, hanging down. But they're quite carefully placed. And with these X's, usually the trees are pulled up by the root. And they're placed in this X. A lot of times over here.
Your videos, a couple of those small ones of those.
I've actually heard stories about trees being derooted upside down, so the roots are hanging up, and then like part of the tree sticking in the ground is another really common sign over here.
Yeah, I've not seen one, but I've heard stories as well. I've not seen that, but I have heard stories of that.
My Facebook user.
Yeah, all you guys who are talking, it's Facebook user. No idea who you are.
Catherine Murphy.
Is that who's going?
Good night, Catherine.
Hi and bye.
So in this shack, I videoed it, okay, and it had a pallet up against it. As I went away, I stopped filming, and I thought, well, okay. A lot of times we don't see half what goes on. If it's moving, we got more chance to see it. If it's not moving, it's more or less invisible to us. We're not very good at seeing static objects at all. So I videoed it. Hang on, look, right, okay, and then I posted it. A subscriber turned around and said, "Oi, Phil, your video. There was something in there." I was like, "Really?" It was just a square shack with a pallet up against it. I was like, "Really?" So it said, "Yeah. I saw it. It moved and it was blinking. It moved its head down. And it was blinking." went back over the video, stuck it through some software, had a closer look at it, and yeah, it was a Type 2 dog. It was like really big fat, but you could take that to be almost like a gorilla, if you like. And you can see it blinking its eyes.
See, that reminds me of. I'm trying to remember what it is. It reminds me of something from Norse legend, not the Berserkers. It reminds me of something else. It will come to me. What the hell was I going to say? I had a really good question, and it's just gone completely out of my head.
What's your thought on portals? What's your thought on portals?
I think the portals are here. There's lots of them everywhere. They're the thin places. Certain parts of the time, depending where the world is, you can see them a lot more. They were used. They're known throughout. Can you get your head off the speaker, Ghost? Thank you very much. They're known. Yes, I love you too. They're known for the Tuatha De Danann used to use them to come off High Brazil and go onto Ireland. The Fae use them. Native Americans use them. The aliens who have got like bases underneath the Nazca lines and all this stuff, they're purportedly supposed to use them. So yeah, I believe in all that stuff.
Mm. You know, in 2012 they found the Higgs boson, the God particle.
That's right, yeah. And now they're doing more things there that we don't know about, apparently.
Yeah. They've done a mathematical equation. They believe that with the Higgs boson particle, with enough quantity of these things on a quantum wave, they will punch through reality into create a portal.
I
think they already have.
Yeah, yeah. Look at all the things that have changed, and we've all spoken about Mandela effect, you know. And there's so many things that I remember, and Josh does, and Wayne does, and you do, and Minecraft does, and everything. And it's all bloody different now. Like I remember the kidneys being down here, now they're up here. My heart, I remember it was here, now it's here. I don't get it. How's it all changed?
Yeah.
We're just getting crazier each year.
Yeah, all this sort of stuff. But I think that when you look at things, we're relatively in the cosmos. We're a relatively new planet. Our technology is, it's been repressed. Our technology, as far as I'm aware, was it 200, 300 years ahead that Black Ops have got, but they won't release it. Yeah. There are places, there are portals. There's portals, like I said, underneath Nazca lines that go to bases elsewhere out there. And when you think that you've got other planets out there, we're not the only speck that's capable of life. And it's not just carbon-based life. It could be silicon-based life. So you've got places out there that are millions, billions of years older than this planet. Their technology is going to be so good, they can punch through reality. And they can just go, type in, or even think where they want to go, and bang, they're here because of the technology they got.
Well, look at that new discovery, too, about black oxygen in the bottom of the ocean. That means everything we knew about how we breathe is completely wrong. There's tons of different species. I'm sure that there probably is tons of different species with water planets that exist.
Yeah, definitely. Look at the electric lights they're supposed to have seen on that planet. We are being drip fed up until 2027. 2027 is when it's all supposed to be happening, and it's not just us that say that. We've heard that from so many reliable sources. Apparently, the Bobberments have got till 27 to drip feed, and bring it up and ramp it up, and then say, actually, guys. So I think a lot of what we see or a lot of what we hear are visitors, people popping in and out, possibly. I don't know, but I definitely think portals are used.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Wayne? You're very quiet, which is very unusual.
Are you sick?
You're not feeling well.
I'm all right, thanks. You actually touched on something, and oddly enough, I posted about it this morning in my daily fact.
Yeah.
And when we were saying about breathing and stuff like that, there is a substance called perfluorohexane,
right,
which, with animals that have been tested, have been submerged in a bath of perfluorohexane. They don't drown. They can still breathe. And this is a fluid.
So there could be seas with that on.
So there could be seas with that in, where you would be able to breathe by appearance underwater, but you wouldn't be because it's a fluid, but you don't drown.
Like the abyss when they use
Isn't that
in the
something like they had in Waterworld back in the 90s? Didn't they drink something and then they could breathe underwater?
There
They had
was,
it in
No,
the abyss as well.
there was a film by James Cameron, and James Cameron done this film where it was a deep sea mining team or something, and
it's the abyss.
that's it, the abyss, exactly. And the
Yeah.
same thing as you said, yeah.
So
Well-
this perfluorohexane, they have actually tested it on various different animals, and they haven't drowned after being submerged in this fluid.
Mm.
Now, the possibilities for that use, that has got no ends.
Well, when you think, like, as I say, the black ops in certain parts of the black government, and you've got the black pope as well. And by that, I don't mean a gentleman of color. There are things that we're not supposed to know about, but a lot of us do know about, and we do our research, and we know quite a few things, and we know quite a few people, but there's all sorts of things to explore down in the bottom of the Marianas Trench, and then to get beneath that layer and go below the Marianas Trench. They've said to everybody, no, we haven't got the technology to get down that far. From what I know, they have got the technology to go down that far, and down underneath there, vastly different.
I heard that when they went down, there's only been a few people that have gone down to the bottom of the Marianas Trench, and one of them was James Cameron. He wanted to go, and evidently he went down. And there was another guy as well, famous guy, like a actor or president or something. He went down. I don't think it was president. I think it was an actor. Got that wrong. But I know James Cameron went down. He went down to the bottom with this like ball. They can only use like a sphere because it's the most efficient shape, you know, when it comes to pressure of that extreme. Yeah, he went down there, but it's only a handful of people that have been down there.
Down on the very bottom in Bombast bit, there's a layer, and the water's different and everything, but we cannot get beneath that layer.
Oh, can't we?
No, we allegedly we haven't got the technology to do it. But as these guys all know on this show, we research this stuff and then find the truth and come up and go, actually. So when
they got the technology to do it, we don't have the technology to do it.
That was going on in South America where they were trying to say it was aliens taking these people and face peeling. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't at all. But
that's a whole mix of Scooby Doo right there. That's a whole episode itself.
Don't you? Do you find it strange that another thing, you know, talking about Mandela effect, and we could go on for hours about Mandela effect. I mean, you know, for the Monopoly guy, I always do remember him with a monocle.
I do.
But one of the things I always found, I've got to kick myself every now and then, and it's because I think to myself, hang on, how is it that I've married into the technology which has only really appeared very, very recently? I remember growing up, and I remember you know, no mobile phones. I used to go about with I thought I was like kind of technically advanced because I had this radio that when it got onto a station, a little LED would light up, and I'd be like, wow, brilliant, look at that. Look what I got. A ZX80. I had a ZX80.
God, yeah,
Didn't know how the hell to use it. No idea.
Ghetto bastards with graphic equalizers.
Yeah. And I was like, but all of a sudden, and we've married into this technology so seamlessly. And I sometimes just have to stop and think to myself, hang on a minute, we still wipe our butts on wood. Do you know what I mean?
The thing is with the Mandela effect, when you look back before the LHC was opened, the Mandela effect didn't exist. If you look along the timelines and look along the reports, it was just before the LHC was officially opened that all this stuff started to happen. And as people started to go, hang on a minute, there are all these rumors that a massive event happened, and there's two theories. Either we all died, and this is our memory recalling everything like you do before you die, or, which is the most popular one, it shunted us into the next door dimension. We've gone from We've been knocked out of the one we're in, and we've been pushed through an atom-thin layer into the next one.
Mm.
Where did everybody go from that one?
What?
We
talking
killed
about-
them!
Right? That's kind of what it seems like.
Or it could have gone like.
No, remember the people saying, "Nah, he didn't have a monocle." You're wrong. That's what it is. That's what some people are.
C-3PO with one silver leg. C-3PO never had a silver leg throughout all the films, as they tried to say. He was all gold. There was only one film where he had a silver leg.
Yeah.
Some of that too, I wonder, is just like, the government seeing, or governments seeing how far they can manipulate us and go back with editing.
Well, it's like I say. I mean, as we've said before, time and time and time again. From what we know, it's 2027. They've got till 2027 to start coming out with everything, and this is why you're seeing all the drip feeding stuff, like the new announcement that's going to come out about alien life that they've said is going to happen, and there's going to be one of three things. They're either going to say they found electric light properly, or they've read signals, or they're going to say we've got intelligent life.
It's October 18th, isn't it? That's the 18th. It's meant to. Congress has asked for the documentation to be released, isn't it? The 18th of October.
Yeah. But the new telescope, the James Webb Telescope, it's something to do with that as well. It's allegedly seen something, and they're going to be doing a big, massive release about this. But we've said about this 3 years ago that this was all going to start to happen. Do you know what? It's always with us. 3 years we'll say something, and it happens. And the only reason we know.
Do you remember years ago? I remember, and I was there watching TV. I think it was Nationwide. Nationwide was well before its time.
God, yeah, I remember that.
Absolutely well before its time. Nationwide is the one that freaked me out. When I was little, it freaked me the hell out because they covered it in such a way it's like dramatized about the Hexam heads and about this like kind of dog man werewolf type creature. Boys unearthed these stone heads, took them into their home.
That rings a bell.
Yeah, and then the next thing was this beast arrived. Big werewolf type creature came into the house to take the heads. Something like that happened. But then the heads were taken by an archaeologist. This lady, she took the heads and had the same beast go to her house. Now, mysteriously, heads have disappeared. They were given to a university. I think it was in Cardiff or somewhere. But they've now, we lost them. Yeah, we're gone. Sorry. I was like, what? But anyway, listen, right, Nationwide, brilliant. I'll tell you why, because they were covering some story on Nationwide, and then it was interrupted. And it was interrupted by a broadcast in 1977. I think it was.
I know what you're on about.
Yes.
I can't remember the name. Yeah.
Yeah. So, of Ishtar.
That's
right.
Oh,
yeah.
The representative of
the Galactic Federation message.
Yeah. And it's one of the first ones, long before Max Headroom, long before that.
I got blamed for broadcasting that signal on everything. TikTok took down that video. YouTube took down that video. I found the actual broadcast and recorded it with
Can you send me a
Snapshot. Yeah, it's on my old phone, so I'll have to dig it out. But yeah, I put it up everywhere, and it would always be flagged right away.
There is a guy, I can't remember his name, and he's a channeler, and he claims to have been at one time channeled that Ishtar. I'll find it.
Well, Ishtar, I believe, is a title because even in Norse mythology, there's sometimes where Thor they refer to him as the Ishtar. I think that means like protector, actually.
Right, I've got a question for you, before we disappear. Aliens! Are you a believer or non-believer?
Aliens, yeah, believer, definitely. Oh yeah, for sure. Once again, there's been too many credible witnesses coming forward, and the footage they've got now. I mean, come on! And the government basically have nudged things along. You know, the American government have nudged things along.
They've got no choice but to. Yeah.
You know, and look at TV. look at films. Everything's pointing that way. It's almost like a conditioning, a mass conditioning. Get ready, guys, because we're going to tell you all. But, get ready about time slips, get ready about multiverses, get ready about aliens, because guess what? It is true.
See, the multiverse, I think, is real, and I don't see why it's not. The Onion Theory, time slips, yeah. Do you think that some of the sightings of, and I'm going to say cryptozoology as a whole, do you think some of these are from under the ground dwellers? Like, because as we know, they're supposed to be some form of lizard that evolved along the same as us under the ground, that don't like us other surface dwellers. Do you think some come from out there, or do you think some phase in and out from elsewhere through the portals?
Yeah, I think with the lizards, the lizard creatures that like meant to live underground, I think they're a totally different kettle of fish in the cryptid world. I think they're more akin to alien, I think, personally speaking. Definitely, yeah. I would classify them under the umbrella of alien. Definitely, I would.
See, if you're on the show, you can't just say alien. You have to go alien like that. That's how you got to do it. Alien. There you go.
Okay, yeah. No, I would, yeah. Because of the quantity of sightings of lizard type people are usually with people that have had strong encounters with craft, or been on craft and saw these kind of creatures with eyes like snake eyes or lizard eyes type. So that's why I would put them in another classification. I haven't really come across many cryptids that have gone out in the forest and found a lizard person.
Oh, unless you're a Mexican security guard who had nothing better to do apart from to come out with and say he met a Nordic female Scandinavian alien and was having mad passionate sex with her for about 2 years. Yeah.
See an alien.
yeah. I remember reading that story. And we brought it out on the show about 5 years ago or something like that. And when we read it out, we all went, "Yeah, right." So
yeah.
I don't know, Wayne. I've just seen the time, so we'll have to disappear in a minute. Have you got anything you want to say? Because you have been remarkably quiet, young man.
No, not really.
Are you sure?
Yeah. No, I'm fine.
You've had your cocoa. Have you had your cocoa and it's bedtime?
My cocoa, no, I've just got banana milkshake tonight.
Yeah, we know what he's doing tonight then. Right, making more milkshake. Anything you want to say, Josh?
No, it's a pleasure meeting you. Good to hear what's going on in the crypto world on your side of the pond.
Yeah. It's vastly different over here to how it is over your side. Phil, before we disappear, would you like to tell everybody about your podcast?
Yeah, sure. I've got a YouTube channel, Dogman TP Hunting. I do paranormal ghost work, usually with Seventh Sanctum. And I've got a podcast, the Interdimensional Voyagers podcast. That's a mouthful, isn't it?
That is.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So anyone can hit me up there, or my name, Phil Cottville on Facebook. Just hit me up and say hello, and that's fine. Yeah, it's great.
And of course, if you'd like to come back sometime, that would be really cool.
Yeah, sure.
Anything around and see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's lots that I could bring up to discuss. It's not a problem. Not a problem there. There's plenty out there.
We normally bring up aliens and stuff. Sorry, aliens. We normally bring up aliens and stuff, or conspiracy theories and stuff like that. And a lot of cryptids.
Yeah, I've got a lot of theories on aliens actually. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and we shall see you again. Everybody who's out there watching us on YouTube, Facebook, and everything else that you watch us on, thank you for joining us. And we will be back next Monday at 9:30 at night GMT, which is... What time is it in your lab? Is it 3:30?
3:30, yeah.
Yeah, so there you go, 6 hours behind. So we will see you all next week. Thank you for joining us, and Wayne smells, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.